Okay, like that.
हाँ ले-
हाँ ओके हाँ ठीक है अ, जय भीम साथियों today BAPSA organization is going to organize a talk on the occasion of birth anniversary of Periyar E.V. Ramasamy. Today's our speaker is Miss Sunaina Arya. So, firstly, I would like to welcome to all of you. And uh, uh, firstly, I would like to introduce our speaker, a brief introduction about our speaker. So, Sunaina Arya is completed her dissertation on feminist philosophy from a Dalit perspective from Jawaharlal Nehru University. She is the editor of Dalit Feminist Theory, a reader with Akash Singh Rathore, published by Routledge in 2019, and senior research fellow at the Center for Philosophy, JNU. She received an honorable mention in the Bluestone Rising Scholar Prize 2019 by the Haller School of Social Policy and Management, Brandeis University, Massachusetts. She is founding member of Global Dalit Change Makers, an initiative of the India-China Institutes, the New School, New York City. Her area of research includes social and political philosophy of Ambedkar, psychology, and philosophy of social sciences. Arya is a resource person for lectures, public talks, workshops, and webinars in India and abroad. Her recent publication includes Dalit or Brahminical Patriarchy, Rethinking Indian Feminism, and Ambedkar as a Feminist philosopher. She is currently co-editing with Akash Gorang a gender special issue of Caste, a global journal on social exclusion, published by Brandeis University, USA. So again, I would like to welcome all of you and our speaker, Sunena. So now I invite to Sati Sunena to deliver her talk. So now, dice is yours, Sunena. Please deliver your talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Birendri. Jai Bhim, everyone. Jai Birsa, Jai Mandal, Ul Johar, Jai Fatima. Um, Thank you very much, Birendri and BAPSA-CUG friends, for inviting me. It is really an honor and privilege to have this conversation and discussion with you all. And so let's go, and I will present on my topic. This is called a theoretical underpinning of Ambedkar's feminism. So we all know that Dr. Ambedkar, as the constitution, as the head of the chairman of the Constituent Assembly, and as the founder of our Indian Constitution of the independent India, has given has enacted gender sensitive laws like maternity bill and right to property, and all of those in form of Hindu code bill, in order to give equal opportunity to the women of also of the society who were badly marginalized and oppressed in pre-independent era. So so I don't want to focus on that part, on the Hindu code bill. That is a pragmatic vision of Dr. Ambedkar, which is very much known by the scholars working on feminism, and the scholars working on Ambedkar studies, or feminism, Dalit studies. So what I want to focus on is Dr. Ambedkar's theoretical contribution to the feminist discourse of India. So what do I mean by theoretical contribution? So theoretical, like we can see that it was his pragmatic contribution, that he enacted Hindu Code Bill for the equal opportunity for the woman. But what is the reason behind, what is the thought process and the thinking which he went through before giving the equal rights to the woman, that I want to focus on. Like, at the thinking level, at the writing level, at the deliberation and analysis which he did before enacting the gender sensitive laws in the constitution. So that I am seeing as his theoretical contribution to feminist discourse of India. So in my presentation I would focus on uh, like it can be organized in three parts. So first is Ambedkar's feminist critique of ancient texts, the ancient texts which gave patriarchal legitimacy, which gave legitimacy to the patriarchal understanding of the woman's role in society. So those ancient texts, which were also religious texts, so he has offered a critique of those texts from a feminist perspective. So my focus would be broadly on that. And then I would just mention briefly about how Ambedkar has given the Hindu Code Bill um as an alternative to the patriarchal social order. And then I would also uh, discuss some arguments which are put against Dr. Ambedkar's feminist, endeavors by Savarna feminists. So I would want to do that. So that is the focus of this presentation today. So firstly, I would want to suggest that Dr. Ambedkar, while he was reading any literature, let it be a political literature, a philosophical literature, any kind of literature, any text, he used to have a criteria in his mind about equality, liberty, fraternity, justice. And from that perspective, that lens, he used to read each and every text. And that is why he read even the religious text from the uh, perspective of equality, dignity, rights, justice. So that is how we see that he has criticized these texts. So I would like to share my screen in order to show the words which he has put. He had quoted from some of the religious texts. So first I would want to share that critique of Rama from Ramayana. So why critique of Rama from Ramayana? Because Ramayana had been regarded as Ramayana had been regarded as, a work, as a text which shows us what is the ideal way of living. So, in the ideal way of living, we find that, the woman is being dehumanized and the woman is being disrespected by the ideal man of our society. So, like Ram is regarded as the ideal man, Sita is regarded as the ideal woman. So let us see this kind of conversation and discussion from a feminist lens, which Dr. Ambedkar did. So Dr. Ambedkar said that it would be difficult to believe that any man with ordinary human kindness could address to his wife in such dire distress as Rama did. So to Sita. So these are the citations I would want to share from the Ramayana, and you can see it is cited properly. So where exactly in the Ramayana he has discussed this? He has quoted Ram, "I have got you as a prize in a war after conquering my enemy, your captor. I have recovered my honor and punished my enemy. People have witnessed my military prowess, and I am glad that my labors have been rewarded." So, this is the conversation which Sita and Ram are having after, Sita has given Agni Pariksha of returning from Lanka. We all know what is the story about Ramayana, right? So then Ram says, I came here to kill Ravan and wash off this dishonor. I did not take this trouble for your sake. So then Ambedkar comments on this dialogue of the Ram, that could there be anything more cruel than this conduct of Ram towards Sita? He does not stop here. He proceeded to tell her, I suspect your conduct. You must have been spoiled by Ravan. Your very sight is revolting to me, O daughter of Janaka. So, we see that everybody says that the woman is the daughter before she is married. Once she is married, she is known by the wife of of her husband. So here, even after marriage, because Sita was kidnapped by Ravan, and then she is returning back after this, fight war at Lanka, and then Rama is again addressing her as the daughter of Janaka, because he is not, regarding as dignified enough to be his wife. That is why he's saying, I suspect your conduct. So, in that way, he's saying, O daughter of Janaka, I allow you to go anywhere you like. I have nothing to do with you. I conquired you back and I am content. See this word of conquiring, I conquired you back and I am content, for that was my object. I cannot think that Ravan would have failed to enjoy a woman as beautiful as you are. So we also have a social understanding about, the wife should be beautiful. So he has that patriarchal understanding of, woman having, a particular kind of beauty. But then at the same time, he is also saying that a beautiful woman like you must have been enjoyed, means she must have been sexually exploited by Ravan, and because she has been sexually exploited, he is dismissing and disregarding all kind of relations with her, even after she's giving this Agni Pariksha. And this is from Valmiki's Ramayan, Yuddha Kanda Sarg, second 5 shlokas 1 to 23. So then Ambedkar says, to give him no excuse, she enters the fire and comes out unscathed. It is then that Ram agrees to take her back to Ayodhya. So this conversation happened, and we can see the kind of demeaning he did for his wife. So what we find here is that Ambedkar highlights from the basic humanitarian grounds that Rama must have considered at least the physical and psychological trouble Sita would go through. uh, this is the later phase when she has given the Agni Pariksha, and she is accepted in the accepted in the Mahal, Raj, whatever you say, kingdom. But again, when the people in that place start saying that Ayodhya, that she must have been enjoyed by Ravan, then again he asks her to give Agni Pariksha, and then he sends her to Vanvas, alone when she was pregnant. So Ambedkar is saying that he must have considered the physical and psychological trouble Sita would go through in an advanced stage of pregnancy, when women need most of the support and care. Another point which Ambedkar seems to focus is that Ram, being a king, must have followed the proper procedure of legislation, that he should have offered a prior notice or sent her along with some basic support, a friend or caretaker. But what Ram does is he just sends a message through Lakshman that you Sita is no more welcome in the palace, so she has to go. And that is how she goes to the Vanvas, and she starts staying with Rishi Valmiki, who has written the Ramayana. So, thus, Ambedkar dismisses the validity and authority of Ramayana as a guiding principle to an ideal form of living, on the grounds that it preaches slavery of women in the institution of marriage, which is against the principles of justice. So, as I have said earlier, that Ambedkar was reading Ramayana from the perspective of justice, and that is why if we see Ramayana and Ram's actions towards Sita, Ram's behavior towards Sita, then we can disregard Ramayana as an ideal form of life, you know. So this is one, and then second is Ram's sorry, Krishna's critique from Mahabharat. Why Mahabharat? Because Mahabharat is regarded as, which, as the text and as a major event in the undated history of India, where which teaches us morality, so this is teaching us morality. And now we will find but that this kind of practices which is shown by the incarnation of supreme being. People say Krishna was an avatar, incarnation of the supreme being Vishnu, and his behavior and his actions were actually uh, regarded highest in Mahabharata. That he had been the most moral and ethical teacher. But we will find in Ambedkar's reading of Krishna's actions and behavior that it is actually not. So Krishna, the incarnation of supreme being, keeps 8 chief wives, 1,80,000 children, and 16,100 wives, whom he married on the same day. The chief wives have been rewarded to Krishna for the victory in fights. So see how the objectification of women is being there. So she has been Kalindi has been rewarded to Krishna because he has won a fight, and they are offered to him as penalty or compensation for defeat. So Jambavati was given to him because he defeated her husband. And fear, so somebody was very a king was fearful of Krishna, and that is why he gave Satyabhama, so as a penalty and compensation. And even for killing bulls, Satya was gained because he has killed bull. So Satya, that wife, was rewarded to Krishna because he killed some bulls. So he did not carry Lakshmana them off. In Lakshmana, he carried her away by himself, and carry away, the woman did not run away with him, he just carry away the woman. So including his cousin Shishupal's fiance Rukmani, and even his own cousin. He is suggesting that his own cousin, Mitra Binda, should be carried away by Arjuna from her Swayamvar. So Mitra Binda was going to have Swayamvar, but Krishna suggests Arjun that, why are you going to get into this competition of Swayamvar? Be a strong man, strong Kshatriya, and just carry her off. So Subhadra, Krishna's half sister, he tells Arjuna to take her off, like carry her away, who was Krishna's half sister, Balram's sister, of like a brave Kshatriya, right? Without depending on the chances of Swayamvar. So, see, Krishna is suggesting that you would be a brave Kshatriya if you carry off this Subhadra, and then he is saying that because don't depend on the chances of Swayamvar. So, see, brave Kshatriya, the idea of brave Kshatriya is actually doing something which is criminal, but and not going honest and try to show their power and prowess in the chances of Swayamvar. So he's suggesting to leave the chances of Swayamvar, like he might win, he might lose, so why depend on that? Just become a brave, so-called brave Kshatriya, and carry her off. So this is what the Krishna does, the incarnation of supreme being. That is why Ambedkar comments that Krishna does not take the pain of arguing and acts on his own whims, criticizes Mahabharat from a feminist perspective as it preaches dehumanization of women. We can see that commodification of woman, objectification of woman is prevalent in Mahabharata. So he denies its validity as a source of morality on the grounds that it does not comply with the basic principles of ethics. So which is not complying with ethics, how can that say become a source of morality? So we need to think critically and see that what are we following, without thinking anything, without reflecting on what we are following and believing. So that is what Ambedkar has pointed out and brought to our knowledge. Then the third criticism that comes from Manusmriti. So Ambedkar said that Manu can hardly be said to be more tender to women than he was to Shudra. So for Manu does not prevent a man from giving up his wife, but what he does is to prevent the wife from becoming free. So the man can give up his wife, but the woman, it does not mean that once the woman is given away by her husband, then she becomes free. No, that there are strict rules and regulations according to Manu, for which the woman can never be set free, should never be set free. So the meaning is that a wife sold or repudiated by her husband can never become the legitimate wife of another person who may have bought or received her after she was repudiated. If this is not monstrous, nothing can be. These are Ambedkar's words. But Manu was not worried by consideration of justice or injustice by his law. So, as we can see again, that Ambedkar is reading Manusmriti from the perspective of justice and equality. So Manu ensured women's slavery. Indeed, he declared a new rule that killing a woman is mere upapattaka, that is a minor offense. That is from Manusmriti 1167 quote. So we know that there are so many organizations run in this country who are still proud to say that we don't believe in the constitution of India, what we believe in Manusmriti, and that is our Hindu constitution. So we can see from here that this is the situation and the situation and the condition of the woman, if in eyes of the people who believe Manusmriti to be their constitution. So that killing a woman is a minor offense, one. And then women have no knowledge of religion because they have no right to know the Vedas. As women cannot utter the Veda mantras, they are as unclean as untruth is. So we can see that Manu says that women do not have the rights to even utter the Vedas because they are unclean and untruth. So what, this is for all women. He is not talking about Shudra woman or Dalit woman or Adivasi woman or women from other minority communities. Manu is talking about all women. And sometimes I wonder, working in feminism, that how Savarna women fail to see that feminism and gender equality is actually a result of Dr. Ambedkar's endeavors, and Hinduism does not give them any rights or equality or dignity. So even I say sometimes that I disregard Hinduism, firstly because I am a woman, and then because I am a Dalit. Because women have been so much dehumanized and indignified in this, this kind of religious texts which have a philosophical kind of justification. People say in name of faith. So we can see that Ambedkar shows here that there is a circularity of argument here. So what Manu says, if we read again, women have no knowledge of religion. So they don't have knowledge, they are ignorant. Why? Because they have no right to know the Vedas. So see, they don't, first you don't give the rights to them, and then you tell them that they have no knowledge, right? And then you say because they don't have knowledge and they don't have the rights to Vedas, that is why they are unclean and untruth. So this is circular. So first you only prevent the woman from enlightenment, and then you say because women are full beings, that is why we should keep away from women. So Ambedkar regards this view of woman as an insult and an injury to the women of India. Ambedkar shows that Manu's argument is circular because, firstly, a woman is prohibited to realize her spiritual potentiality, like by knowing the Vedas, by uttering the mantras, and then she is declared to be barren of spiritual potentiality. So, so she cannot, we know what does barren mean. Barren mean one who is unable to produce, one who is unable to, uh, you know uh, fertile, so unfertile. So she is declared that she can never have spiritual potentiality. But then why? Because she is prohibited to realize her spiritual potentiality, which is brought out by Ambedkar from his reading of Manusmriti from a gender equality perspective. So what I find here very striking is, uh, we all know that, Simone de Beauvoir is regarded as a great feminist, not only in the Western world but even in our academia in India. And Ambedkar's feminism is, offers similar kind of perspective at some points, not all the time. uh, but still Ambedkar's feminism is not regarded that much, so in seconds, that is why I'm citing here Simone de Beauvoir's, words. So she is highlighting the same kind of circular situation for a woman in the Western world. So in second 6, a woman is shut up in a kitchen or a boudoir, and one is surprised her horizon is limited. Her wings are cut, and then she is blamed for not knowing how to fly. Let a future be open to her, and she will no longer be obliged to settle in the present. So this is the kind of method and the, approach which Ambedkar himself had. And that was early, and I didn't find Simone de Beauvoir's uh, work citation in Dr. Ambedkar's work, so he is not taking it from Simone de Beauvoir. But I am just trying to convey that his feminism is, does not have a less value, does not have a less, regard than Simone de Beauvoir, who is world known feminist. So we find that from the uh, Manusmriti and, all the Ramayana and Mahabharata, that Ambedkar's feminist, yeah, what I just said here. So Ambedkar's feminist perspective converges with that of Simone de Beauvoir. He argues that women had no less intellectual potential than men. So he also says that, it is not that they don't have potential, because he cites Buddhist literature, Patanjali's Mahabhashya, Kautilya's Arthashastra, where women possess property and rights to knowledge, divorce, claim maintenance, remarry, and men were charged abundant fine and punishment if they remarry for the desire of son without waiting for 8 to 10 years. This was the situation of women in, Buddhist period. So which we can find in detail in Dr. Ambedkar's work called Revolution and Counter Revolution. So then we find that Ambedkar Ambedkar's alternative to prevailing social order based on patriarchal norms, which we saw in the first section. So, highlighting the role of women as agents of social change and development. So, see, Ambedkar's feminist perspective was in no way to favor women, but he said that, why women's upliftment and equality and education is important, because the half of the population constituted by the women of India were not able to contribute to the national progress, and that is why we need to uplift women for the progress of the society, and not only not for themselves, like not a favor. So we all know his this citation, his this quote, right? I measure the progress of a community by the degree of progress which women have achieved. Why this repeatedly quote is still relevant and very important, because the women have not still gained the equal opportunity and equal dignity and equal rights in our social world. Even if they are there in our in the legal uh, framework, they have the rights, but in our society still women are treated unequally and inequally and in an undignified manner. And there also he is mentioning about all women. So see, he does not have any kind of favor attitude or bias attitude, which savarnas or most of the people who have right wing inclination, they often accuse that, oh, you were doing something because you belong to that community. He was not a woman, he was not a savarna, but still he thought of women from all communities. So Ambedkar advocates unity is meaningless without the accompaniment of women. This is something which I think has to be highlighted, especially for Ambedkarites, that what Ambedkar have said, that education is fruitless without educated women, and agitation is incomplete without the strength of women. So that is why his attitude goes, let each girl who marries stand up to her husband, claim to be her husband's friend and equal, and refuse to be his slave. So we see that Ambedkar was a feminist, and then he his introduction to maternity bill, or Hindu code bill in overall, was a result of his analytical thinking, which he has already done before the formation of the constitution, in his feminist critique of the religious literature, which was giving patriarchal rules, patriarchal, giving legitimacy to the patriarchal norms and beliefs. So introducing the maternity bill, Ambedkar emphasizes that it is in the interest of the nation that mother ought to get a certain amount of rest in the prenatal period. So we can relate it totally with the Sita's situation, where Ambedkar said that Sita, when she was pregnant, she must have been sent with at least some support or some kind of notice before sending her to the jungle. So that is the attitude which Ambedkar had there, which got realized in form of maternity bill. So this shows the profoundness of his vision for the future of the country. And yeah, the proposal of feminist laws, as I said, marriage act, maternity act, divorce maintenance act, adoption act, etc., on its opposition to and its on its opposition in constituent assembly, Ambedkar's resigning from the position of law minister shows that Ambedkar was strongly committed to avail equality and to each and every woman in India, irrespective of caste, class, region, religion, and other identities. So, what we find is that Ambedkar's formation of Hindu Code Bill was not only a political or legal endeavor, but it was philosophical, theoretical, and very much epistemological, epistemological act and epistemological attitude. So what we see now, what we are going to work on now, see now, is the arguments which are put against Ambedkar's feminism. So which I'm going to present now, and I think that is that I am going to discuss later. Can we remove the share screen, please? So yeah, so I would like to bring into your notice that how Ambedkar's feminist laws has also been criticized from a mainstream Savarna understanding. And so Nivedita Menon, a Marxist feminist, criticizes some crucial acts of Hindu Code Bill in her work, Seeing Like a Feminist, that book. And she bases her argument on the grounds of advantages availed to women over men through matrilineal practices at some places in India. So she says that the Hindu Succession Act (HSA) nullified the better position of daughters under matrilineal laws, so making sons equal inheritors. So she argues that the Hindu Succession Act has equalized women's socio-economic status under matrilineal practices, so with that of men's. So women cease to enjoy the higher position than men. So I argue that if one matrilineal practice is not so so much in the Indian geographic areas, it is in few parts of India. So that is not a broad a broad practice in overall India. So which but still one can argue from this perspective. But we need to see that when women and men are getting equal rights from their parents' property, then is it really an equality injustice? Is it an injustice? So I argue that making sons equal inheritors of the property of mother or father should not be seen as disempowering daughters, because we are working on gender equality and gender justice. So are we going to stand with an extremist position that make women as dominant as men are? So that is not the goal of gender equality. In gender equality, we need to have equal rights for not only women but also men and also non-men and non-women. So it has to be for everyone, neither not only for women and never only for men, because our society has been historically, dominantly, factually, even now patriarchal. So in the same line of debate, Sharmila Rege also holds, similar to my argument, that the bill seeks to maintain an equality of position between the son and the daughter. So Ambedkar's attempt to equalize the economic status of men and women by Hindu Succession Act, which is necessary step to end gender injustice. So it was not about disempowering women, because women would already be getting some you know half of the property. So then another critique which we find and broadly, and that is very famous critique of Dr. Ambedkar, but still I would want to discuss this here, since the talk is about Ambedkar's theoretical underpinning of Ambedkar's feminism. So mostly this comes from Savarna feminists who enjoy caste and class privilege. So they criticize that Ambedkar disdained some women by calling them a shame to community. No, shame to community, on the grounds that a view attempts to curb women's freedom to deploy their sexuality in the manner they desire. So what happened is Ambedkar was giving a speech to the women in Kamatipura who work at Kamatipura, and he told them that don't become ashamed to community. But that words, these four words have been captured well: shame to the community. But those critics have grossly ignored his advice in the same speech. So in the same speech, he continued to say, do not live under the conditions which inevitably drag you into prostitution. So when he said shame to community, he he related it directly with the practices which drag the which show the caste ordained linkages with sexuality and labor. That is the historical practices of Devadasi, Murali, Jogini, and other names we know about them. That when the young Dalit girls were devoted to the temples in name of faith, and then they were sexually exploited by the priest, and then they had no other option than getting into the prostitution, and which is called by mainstream feminists as sex work. But precisely because of the same history, we Dalit feminists do not want to call it work, because sexuality is highly linked with the caste, and also other kind of marginalization. So even today we can find that uh, so-called sex workers or prostitutes are mostly from the Dalit communities, Adivasi background, and Pashmanda lower caste Muslims. So this subordinate caste woman, this has also been shown here on the the uh, cover of my book. This is a Devadasi. I can show you the full picture actually. Uh, huh. Devadasi. So this image, this painting by Savi Savarkar actually shows that how a Dalit woman who goes into this Devadasi and Murli and Jogani practices, she ends up living like this. She we can see so many stretch marks on her body. These are for abortion, and then we can also see from her body that she is also pregnant. At the same time, she is brutally sad, and she's sad and helpless. And then this is called Devadasi with a crow. So this crow, it is my interpretation that I think that this crow is the signifier of caste. So how the caste becomes a reason for a Dalit woman's life, like this, in this way. So this kind of practice is not for any other woman except for Dalit women, which we see here, and that is why I made this the cover of the book as well. That which is the basic one of the most important differences, and an issue of debate between the Dalit feminist and the mainstream Savarna feminist. So. Because of these practices, the subordinate caste, the Dalit woman, continue to live such life of exploitation. And in Rege's words, she says that they live a life which is less than ideal lives in a more than imperfect milieu. So it is more than imperfect and less than ideal. What is there suggested in our religious texts about ideal life and the woman and all of that. So Dalit woman situation is even worse because of such practices granted by the religious authorities and religious, text. So in words of Rege, Ambedkar's appeal to introspect into their humiliation. So Dalit women who are being humiliated, he encourages them to introspect and reflect in their humiliation in their lives, is called an epistemological act. The act which a philosopher does. The epistemology is a branch, a major part of philosophy which deals with the origin of knowledge, source of knowledge, and everything related with knowledge. So that is called epistemology. So Ambedkar's suggestion for introspection in about themselves, uh, for the woman of Kamatipura, is an epistemological act. And then their and then his encouragement to express their perspective to their oppressor, you know to to dissent and to assert and express their perspective to their oppressor is an political act. So these are the words by of Sharmila Rege. So Sharmila Rege also uh, writes a really nice phrase which I like she captures this pretty well, that how caste is so much deeply related with the sexual violence. So she shows that Like this entire discussion which I just did is shows that this disgraceful life which women of Kamatipura and other Dalit, Adivasi, Bahujan, and Pashmanda Muslim women are living is predetermined in a caste stratified society. So just because they're born in that particular caste, in that particular family, that is why they are subjected to live such a disgraceful life. So, Rege argues that caste determines the division of labor. That is what is the argument of the people who comply with Varnashram Dharma, and they say that caste is a offshoot, byproduct, which is negative byproduct of the Varna system, but the Varna system was itself very good, right? So it was just a division of labor. So Reagan here says, analyzing this perspective, that caste determines the division of labor. So it's not that the division of labor has consisted caste, but actually caste has constructed the division of labor, sexual division of labor, that division of labor, what a Brahmin will do, what a Kshatriya will do, what a Vaishya will do, what a Shudra will do, what kind of services, and uh, whatever provided by Atishudras, Dalits, untouchables, outcasted people. So the division of labor is decided by the caste, and also the sexual division of labor, that women will do this work like the household, and men will go and earn money outside. So in the South Asian context broadly, caste actually becomes a factor to decide the division of labor, sexual division of labor, and also what I find most powerful is the division of sexual labor. So who will do the sexual labor? And sexual labor, we know that who are the people who are into the work of so-called sex work or prostitution. So now can we share the screen, please? So Dr. Ambedkar, we find that has championed the freedom from, championed the freedom from slavery and empowerment of women. So we find that before, as we find in the religious texts, I think no need to share the screen now. So before, in the religious texts, ancient texts, literature of India, and not the prehistoric, which is regarded as the Buddhist literature, not the Buddhist literature, but after the Buddhist literature, that is counter revolution phase, that time. And that is also one of the reasons we can find that why the religious texts, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and all of them are undated. They are not dated. So we need to think about it. So we see that in those texts, women were regarded as property. And what Ambedkar did is, with Hindu Succession Act, they the woman they became the woman who were with the property, so they had property instead of becoming a property. So earlier they were treated as slaves to their husbands, like husband can give her away to anybody, husband can give it to in fear, in compensation, which we find broadly in Krishna, this Mahabharat. So the women who were regarded as slaves, they had been suggested to become friends to their husbands, right? In Ambedkar's perspective. And earlier they had no right to recitation of mantras, Ved mantras. They had no right to knowledge. So they had no right to education. And now the woman having got the right to education, the right to property, the equal right to life, dignity, respect, job, everything. So now they have this fundamental right to not only get educated but also to educate others. So by becoming teacher or by other ways, so now women can even teach other people, and which was impossible before. Then these women were easily demeaned and repudiated by their husbands under polygamy. When polygamy was there, like one person is having so many, wives, and it depends on the man, whims and wishes of the man completely, what kind of life and how much respect and dignity uh, a wife will get. So but under this divorce and maintenance act, we can see that now women at least have the right to choose to leave their husbands for their inhuman behavior, which earlier was impossible. And then when the women leave their husband, they can become free and not like, been under the, at least his legally they have the rights with the constitution. So women's health issues were completely grossly ignored, which I mentioned before also in Sita's one more case. But maternity act has given a lot of care for the women who are working, and that they get 9 months leave, paid leave. That is a revolutionary change, which Ambedkar has brought in our society. And then Sharmila Rege argues that Hindu code bill advances a woman to be recognized as an equal and free individual citizen as men, rather than less than a member of a family or something to be gained or protected, that is honored. So this is what I had to say. And I think I was speaking very fast, quickly, but I'm hopeful that because of sharing the screen, you would be able to follow. And since this video will remain, you can watch it again. So, in conclusion, I want to say that gender justice is an essential element in Dr. Ambedkar's philosophy. So, in other words, Ambedkarism has within its principles feminism. But the feminists of India do not recognize Ambedkar's feminism as a contribution to feminist discourse, and they think that feminism they brought from France. I wonder, So that is why I would want to emphasize that Fulle Ambedkar Periyar had been the first feminist for this country, and whatever rights and equality even Savarna women are enjoying today, in order to speak on the mic, that is granted by Ambedkar, not by somebody who's a white and European. So Ambedkar's feminism is coherent with empirical reality of Indian society. That is, he, as we find, I might have spoken in another presentation occasion, that Ambedkar shows how caste is inherently related with gender, which we can also read in his work called Caste in India, his first work, which he has presented as a master students. So we find that is the empirical reality of India and broadly South Asia, which has been ignored and ignored and sidelined by the mainstream Savarna feminists, which who say that class is a major issue. So Ambedkar's feminism is actually coherent with the empirical reality of Indian society, which is committed to avail gender justice to all members of society, irrespective of caste, race, religion, region, class, or age. And that is why we need Ambedkar's perspective was actually intersectional. So, which I can present some other time, and also there are new works now coming in Ambedkar's perspective of uh, queer theory. And my friend who's doing PhD in anthropology at Cornell University, Akhil Kang, he gave a fantastic presentation in the New York conference I went for, and he presented on how Ambedkar had this, queer perspective. So we need to. I think that is another thing which we need to think about and work on, about how Ambedkar contributes and his idea contributes in the marginalized communities of the based on gender, based on sexuality, not only on one's gender, that if we say broadly. So Ambedkar's feminist thought lays groundwork for Indian feminist discourse, and therefore holds a strong relevance uh, in the space and time, beyond the boundaries of space and limits of time. That is too much of words to say, but so far, any of his idea, any of his perspective and argument is not against women or is not against queer people. So we can say that his perspective has relevance beyond the boundaries of space and the limits of time. So I would conclude now. I think I have taken a lot of time, uh, but thank you so much, and I look forward to your questions and comments. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sunaina. Thank you so much for give a very interesting and thought-provoking lecture. So now I request to our friends, you can raise your questions in comment box. Uh, Sunaina, we have one question
Mm-hmm.
by Harvinder Singh.
Mm-hmm.
He has mentioned we are always in favor of feminism,
Mm-hmm.
but our first Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, "Why we criticize the woman who born King Lord from her lap?" So, what is your um, thought on this question?
Okay. So, thank you, Harvinder ji, for your question. I think I did not get it clearly, but please see if I have got it. What you mean? That you are suggesting that we don't need a separate feminist dialogue when Guru Nanak Dev ji has already proposed and propounded a feminist understanding that women should not be criticized because they give birth to the kings, right? So well, we I would say that yes, he was also a feminist because he was gender sensitive and he believed in gender equality and dignity of women. So why we favor feminism, I don't understand that. Can you please elaborate? I feel that feminism is not a person, or feminism is not something which is to be favored or so. It is a movement, it is a philosophy. So feminism is about gender justice and gender equality. Just the word feminism is about gender justice and gender equality. We all need not to uh, you know um mm, need not to be recognized as like recognize ourselves as feminist. But if we are gender sensitive and we believe in gender equality and gender justice, then we are feminist. So I hope this answers your concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunena. Uh, Friends, I request if you have any question, so please write in comment box.
Yes, I am very much looking forward to the questions. That is my favorite part. So you can ask me anything, just anything.
Okay, so lecture was very interesting, and some friends are saying that you have answered all the questions during your talk. So we don't have much questions, so we can conclude now.
So
Friends,
don't you?
I request again, if you have questions, please write in comment box.
Yeah, anything. Even if you have any curiosity,
Yeah,
anything if you want to
any
say.
query, any question, any comment also. So you can write in comment box, please.
Yeah. Virendri, do you have some?
Yeah, actually,
Rani
hello,
hai. Yeah.
Sunena.
Yes, yes,
Am I
I
Yeah,
audible?
can.
I
Yeah.
have one question.
Yes,
Can
please.
you can you please tell us more about urban and rural feminism?
Okay, okay. So urban and rural feminism. Very important. This is from Nishant Suman, right? So yeah, thank you, Nishant ji, Jabim for your question, Jabim, and thank you for your question. So more about urban and rural feminism. Well, mostly in the rural areas, if we can call somebody a feminist, they are actually working in NGO sector who are recognized. But in the rural area, women are also fighting at the individual level, at family level, at collective level. So they are also feminists. And if you want to have a, you know, uh, difference about what is the urban feminism and the rural feminism. So we can say that, in the urban area, what we find is, in the urban regions, there is media, there is internet, there is a lot of contacts through which we can raise our voices and make it reach to the higher, broader audience. But in the rural area, that does not happen. So for the rural area, one thing which I personally always feel, that what I am doing as an academic, is it going to change or bring any improvement to the women at the ground level, so that is always one of the concern which I deeply feel, that this is an academic discourse we are talking about, but then I uh, that is one thing where rural women go missed out mostly. So, and even many of the NGO workers who are working for women in the rural area, they come from the caste privilege or class privilege backgrounds, most of them. And then they I think because they don't know that reality, because of by their experience, that's why they also sometimes are not able to bring out to the mainstream, to the media and to the broader people. So that is one thing I feel, that we need to have some more efforts for rural women, and many of the people are working at the ground level, like the group Vishakha, who has brought out Vishakha guidelines in Bhavri Devi's case, and they helped her fight that. Though Bhavri Devi is still there struggling and fighting for justice, but still they made some contribution in that way. And people like Bhavri Devi, they they are role models. They are role models. Like, she still has a lot of strength and power and resilience, which most of urban people might not have. So it's not that rural women or people, non-men in the rural areas, do not have that kind of power and attitude, just that we miss that because of our limited engagement with them. So I can tell you my mom's story. I come from a village, and my mom used to be beaten up by my father. So she has suffered a lot of domestic abuse, and still, she resisted, and she said things, which we because I think mostly Dalit women and Dalit Adivasi Bahujan women, they actually talk back, they sometimes talk back, which does not happen in the Savarna, sophisticated Abhadra Lok women communities, that they are not able to assert that much. But our women, mostly they do. And in the urban area, it becomes even more uh, strong when the women are feminist, when the women are strong. So uh, I think this is something I also need to, work more on and think around. And I would invite and request more people working on this to do this. And also many of the researchers who are my friends, they are also working on, rural women and rural gender issues, where women are being beaten up. And, also there is one more problem, that the uh, state level mechanisms which are available are more functional in the urban area, but not that much functional in the rural area. Like, many of the men, many police people, we know that we know the cases of custodial rapes, right? So that is something which is difficult in the urban setting. So that is why rural women have to suffer more. And then there are so many issues we deal with, electricity issues, water issues, sanitation issues. Most of the people are working, mostly from Dalit, Bahujan, Adivasi, and Bachmanda Muslim. They are working as laborers in the farms, in the other kinds of, factories, and like the daily wage laborers from the rural area. And one of the important element, aspect for their more marginalization is also education. So because the educational institutes at rural area, first they are less, but at the same time they are also almost dysfunctional. If we go to government schools at that area, then it is almost like it is so much dysfunctional. And then women, mostly from the marginalized communities, do not get good education. And as we see, people who are educated become more vocal, become more assertive, and also know the law. That is one of the things which needs to be worked out uh, in the rural setting. And I think that, the people working in urban area and the people working in rural area, they should have some kind of collaboration and some kind of, dialogue and conversation on a regular basis, so that what a woman in urban space gets should also be reaching to the woman in urban rural area. So but at the same time, women are also resilient, and women also have, the audacity to talk back. And But at the same time also, I feel that so many mechanisms which we find in city that is not available in villages. So like what I have today, I never could imagine to have when I was not in JNU. So uh, yeah, I I
Oh, okay,
then
thank you, Sonia. I have one query only, no question. Uh,
Mhm.
I would like to know about if the patriarchal, social, and cultural power is more stronger in any region.
uh,
So, and there is no applying legal provisions.
uh,
So, how their feminist view will work for women, or feminist view, or for
yes,
social justice? Like in Haryana,
yeah,
Panchayat more stronger, and legal laws are very weak in that area. So, please.
sure, Virendra ji, thank you so much. Yes, this is one of most important questions in Dalit discourse and feminist discourse, that, how are we going to deal with the dichotomy between the legal and the social. Social also goes to, the cultural and uh, more like other kinds of, arenas. So how do we do? So one thing I think, that one which I just said in the previous one, is that education is must. Education is the first step. So education for the marginalized, formal education is a must. And then also uh, education of egalitarianism, education of equality, liberty, fraternity, and justice for those who believe in egalitarianism, who believe in caste system, who believe in patriarchy, who believe in, exploitation of the others, like others being marginalized, Dalit, Bahujan, Adivasi, minorities. So I think education would be one thing. And second thing,
Mhm.
the legal mechanisms which are there, they need to have a regular check. There has to be something with a regular check, like, Vishakha guidelines, which has helped so many people. We know that most of the people who are at the workplace, the defined workplace, are not from Dalit, Bahujan, Adivasi communities, but still that was a result of the fight of Bhamri Devi. So even that has been successful because of the legal mechanism. So there, so legal mechanism is very strong. Just that we need to you know have a regular check that whatever is legally availed, is it socially availed and what is what's the word I'm not getting, is it applied there or implemented there or not. So I think that is of course a job of a state pradhan, gram panchayat pradhan, and block pramukh, and also the collector of that area. But since we know how bureaucracy works and how politics work, uh, we need to have a much more, like when I said that the feminist in urban area, if they have a regular contact and conversation with the feminist and the people of rural area, then it will be more helpful for both of them to understand and work to, help each other. So it's not that women in urban area could not be helped by women in rural area. So I think we need to have that attitude that we need to bring everyone together, we need to uplift everyone, because feminism for Savarna is not feminism. Feminism has to be for everyone. In the same lines, feminism for urban women is not feminism until and unless we also work in such a way that the woman at rural area should also get gender justice. So I think these are some of the ways, and there could be some more deliberation and thoughts about it. And also there has to be some quick actions on incidents of honor killing, through Khap panchayat and other quick actions. And I think with education, the woman will be empowered. Then the woman who, like, we all know, right, that in the gram panchayat elections, women have 50% reservation. So 50% of women actually elect as a candidate for gram pradhan, but we know that they don't have the power. They just work as a rubber stamp. But mostly the people from dominant caste, and if not dominant caste, then their own husbands and their own families, actually they regulate the entire system. So when the woman will be educated, then she will know her rights, and she will also know her her value, and she will also know that why this 50% reservation is there for her. It is not for representation sake only, it is for the upliftment of the woman over there. So I think these are some of the things which I think is going to be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sunena. Thank you.
Am I
So,
taking too much time to answer the questions?
no, 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 it's fine.
Okay.
It's a very clear view. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, thank you,
We have,
Reha. Yeah, Reha
um,
has commented. She's my friend. Thank you, Reha. Yes, please, please, Virendra. Sorry.
yeah. So we have one another question, but it is very large questions, broad questions. If you want to answer, so you can.
Sure.
What is your experience in Dalit movement? Havaldar Bharti is raised this question. So if
Okay.
you
Jai
want to
Bhim,
answer, so
Havaldar ji, and thank you for your question. My experience in Dalit movement. Hmm. Well, I have not been actively participating in Dalit movements outside of student movement. If we want to have this binary student movement and non-student movement, because somehow I believe that students are also contributing to the major society. So in I have been part of Dalit Ambedkarite and feminist groups in JNU. I am in JNU since 2013, where I joined as a MA student, and now I am in the last year of my PhD. So I have been part of them, these organizations, where I felt initially that our people who are Ambedkarites and people, especially from Dalit, Bahujan, Adivasi communities, they need to be gender sensitized, and not only men. Please, I want to emphasize, it's not about only men. It is about everyone in the organization has this responsibility to gender sensitize themselves, so that they can gender sensitize others. And we adore Dr. Ambedkar, we revere him, and so we need to also focus that, we also cannot ignore his feminist principles and his feminist standpoint. So if we regard, just imagine if we disregard his political contribution, will we still be Ambedkarite? So that is why we need to think, can we still be Ambedkarite if we disregard his feminist contributions? And not only for the namesake that, Ambedkarism is feminism. The feminism has also to be appearing, has to be very much vitally visible. Where is it? So I am not arguing from the standpoint of Savarna who talk about, Dalit patriarchy. I don't believe in that Dalit patriarchy concept. I am just saying that everybody is has been affected by the Brahmanical patriarchal understanding. So we all need to, unlearn those learning which our society has taught us. So that is one of the experience which I can say that lately initially I felt that our people are also patriarchal. I am not saying that Dalits are more patriarchal like Savarnas. I am saying that patriarchy is there among everyone. But I am also saying that if we are Ambedkarites, then we must be gender sensitive. And if we are not Ambedkarites, maybe I would not question you that much. So, because I have a particular expectation from people who call themselves Ambedkarite. So, yes, that is my experience in the movement. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sunena. We have another question also.
Mhm.
So, Vikas Jassi has raised this question. What is your understanding of the intervention of intercaste marriage on caste dynamics?
Okay. Uh, Jabim Vikas ji, thank you for your question. Uh, Very, very interesting question. I'm very happy you asked this. So, um, intervention of intercaste marriage on caste dynamics. So we all know that Dr. Ambedkar and Periyar and Phule, they had suggested for intercaste marriages, and even Periyar, we are celebrating Periyar's birth anniversary, which was on 17th. So Periyar, in fact, he had a total movement of intercaste marriages, right? So Periyar, Phule, Ambedkarite people already know that intercaste marriages are going to be one of the solutions for an Ambedkarite that is anti-caste society. So I also believe in the same, that intercaste marriage is going to help, because we know that, when we mix the caste, then the uh, people who are like the children produced by people from two different castes will not be recognized from one particular caste. At least they will be sensitive about the caste question as compared to those who are coming from the same caste community. So I am optimistic about this if we have intercaste marriage, but this is not the solution. This is one of the solution, as said by one of our uh, senior activist Beena Pallikal from National Campaign for Dalit Human Rights. So she said this is one of the solutions. So I agree with that. Um, so, and in that also, like how honor killing cases are happening still there in Nepal. There were brutal cases recently during the COVID time, shocking and depressing, discouraging cases of honor killing. So that is why again we need to educate ourselves, to empower ourselves. At the same time, uh, education of savarnas, education of casteist people, education of patriarchal people is also very important. And of course they need to put efforts, but we because we some people call us, the lit. So we are the lit people who are all, some sort of enlightenment in I think is about, having a cause conscious awareness. So when we have this awareness, we can help others to see that how they are also being enslaved by this casteist understanding. that they are not able to act as a true human being. They are not able to live like a person who has the potential of empathy, who has the potential of matri, compassion, metta from Buddhist concept, right? So I think we need to have this dialogues with them at every level, which is I understand is impossible at the rural area. But when we have a regular check at the legal rights, legal institutions, then it will be helpful, I think. So intercaste marriage is one of the ways. And I feel that, many of the people might not agree, but I feel that whoever complies to same caste marriage is against that, is is not going is not taking advantage of this kind of uh, you know right which we have about intercaste marriage. So like I told my family, I'm not going to marry in my caste, because if I am marrying in my caste, that means I am supporting caste system. So I think this kind of understanding we need to have, that if we are supporting if we say we are Ambedkarite and still supporting same caste marriage, then there is a contradiction. So not that if we love somebody who's of our caste, but out of fear, if we are going into the same caste marriage, then we need to, I think we need to reflect about it and be very strong that we need to support intercaste marriage, because the more intercaste marriage, the more possibility towards annihilation of caste. uh, Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sunena. So, as we know, today we are celebrating birth anniversary of Periyar A.V. Ramaswamy. Periyar mainly worked for upliftment of women from religious traditions and cultural rituals, and Ambedkar also worked for upliftment of women through legal laws and free and equalize the society. So our speaker has talked about how the woman is suppressed by the patriarchal norms from ancient time to contemporary time, and another thing that how the she has mentioned how the Dalit women are more humiliated under patriarchal and caste system in India. So uh, she has mentioned Ambedkar's work for upliftment of women. Uh, she mentioned that how the Ambedkar always raised the voice of women to explore the social justice and equalize the society. The result of talk is that Ambedkar has worked as a feminist in India. Sunena has more focus uh, on patriarchal norms and upliftment of women through our Indian feminist li- and she has mentioned the feminist view of Phule, Periyar, and Ambedkar in Indian society. So I would like to thanks Sati Sunena, and I would like to also thank to everyone.
You are mute, I think. Yes, you are mute, Birendri.
May I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So I would like to thank our speaker for very interesting and very insightful lecture. And I would like to thank everyone who being a part of this talk. So thank you so much for everyone and our speaker Sunena. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Birendri. And I also want to thanks everyone for joining in, taking out your time. And sorry for the delay at the beginning. There was some technical issue, and still for keep having your patience and your enthusiasm for this presentation. I hope. I hope what you have, heard from me, you are also going to discuss it with your peers, with your family, with everybody. And in that way, maybe we could have some contribution along with the research which we are doing. So I encourage everyone to think uh, in this way, like Ambedkar did, from the perspective of equality, justice, fraternity, and dignity, and also for everyone, not only for Brahmins, not only for Savarnas, not only for Hindus. It has to be for everyone, not only for whites. So for everyone. So I encourage you all to do that. And thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much, Birendri, for helping me with this, and Pradhani ji, thank you very much for all the time helping me whenever I am having some kind of issue with this technical. For the first time, I'm using this platform. So thank you very much for teaching me. Thank you for the discussions. Let's keep in contact and continue our dialogue. And anyone can write to me questions or curiosities, any comments if you have. If you want to read some work from me, please reach out. I'm there on social media. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can reach me out anywhere. So thank you very much. Jai Bhim, Jai
Thank you,
Bhim,
Snehha.
Jai Pune,
Jai Bhim, everyone,
Jai Pune.
and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We can close now.